This is Dan Abbott. I'm making this video as an addendum to my video on passing the SOLIDWORKS Associate Certification Exam. Making this from my parametric modeling class because most of the time when you do the exam there is at least one example that requires that you do a revolve. And just to point out a couple of suggestions, I want you to be prepared when you take the exam. First, on every one of the parts that you create, start by really looking over the drawings themselves. What you'll have on the exam are a series of drawings that look a lot more like this little isometric view up here than it does a traditional mechanical drawing. Views might not be in the locations that you would expect them to be orthographically, but you can find all the information you need by just looking around at the drawing. What we're going to do first is to start by looking at this area right up here where you see the cross section of this hand wheel. I'm suggesting that you always draw the cross section of the entire wheel, put a center line that goes to the origin, and then do a revolve. So start a new part. When you start the part, the first thing you're going to want to check to see is if you've got the right units. The units on the exam have always been millimeters, so if you look down here, MMGS is what you want to see. Just a caution, don't select MKS. You'll be drawing in meters, not millimeters. I'm going to suggest that you start by sketching, I'm going to go in the right plane, put a couple of construction lines in, or center lines. I'm going to have one that goes right through the origin. Another one that goes up from the origin. I'm going to put a dimension on that. I'm drawing this so that I can put the end of this cross section right there. So if I look, it's 500 millimeters from the center of that across to the other side. So I'll do a smart dimension from that point to the center line, drop down below, type in 500, and there's now my starting point. Get out a dimension, I'll go and draw a circle. I'll put the circle right at that point there. Dimension that immediately. Has a radius of 15. I'm just going to do a little math and make it 30. Then I'll offset that center line bilaterally 4 millimeters because it's got an 8 millimeter distance, so 4 on each side. Make sure you select bidirectional. Looks like that. Now I'm going to draw the hub in. I'm going to draw the hub, this area right here, I'm going to draw it off of the center line by that distance here. So I'll just start a line, come out, come up, come back. Actually, I'm going to get rid of that coincident relation because I want this to come all the way over and actually hit the center line. So I want the end point of that to come over here. Now I'll put a few more dimensions in. Put a dimension from here to here. That's going to be the size of the hole, which is 80. Dimension right here, that's going to be the size of the hub, which is 120. And the width of the hub is given as 80, so I'm going to do a dimension from here to the center line, come across here and make that 80. Now I'm just going to go do a little bit of trimming. I'll get rid of this. I'll get rid of this. I'm actually going to get rid of this entire line because we're going to do a trim. We're going to do a mirror. And then I'll get rid of that, this, and this. Now we'll mirror a few entities to the other side of the center line. Get those, mirror about, pick the center line, goes over the other side. Now I have a fully defined sketch. I could rotate this right now, or I could put the fillets in the sketch. I prefer to put the fillets in as a feature, so I'm just going to go over to Features, Revolve Base, select the center line. It'll give me the starting point for my wheel. I'd also recommend adding the fillets as the last thing that you do. So now we'll take a look at this right from the front, and we'll go over to the drawing, and I want to draw that shape right there. So I'll do another sketch. This sketch is going to be on that web. I'll draw a center line coming all the way up through. I'll draw a regular line that starts at the center and comes out here. I'm going to mirror that line around that center line. Put an angular dimension between the two, and that angular dimension is going to be 30 degrees. And I'm going to draw a circle One circle's coming out here. I'll draw another circle. Comes out to here. Come over and take a look at those dimensions. That's got a radius of 225, and this one has a radius of 70. So I'll put a dimension on this one. Make that 450. Put another dimension on this one and make that 140. Now I've got the shape I can use for a cut. Now there are a couple of ways that I can do this. One is to trim out and have just the shape I want, but I could also use contours. I think in this case I'm going to use the trim function. So let's trim this and let's trim that and this and this. I'm going to trim that out. I'm going to trim this out. Now what happened when I did the trim is that I lost my connection from the end of this line to the origin. So I'll hold the shift key down, pick that line, hold the shift key down, pick that line and the origin, make them coincident. Do the same thing with this one, shift key, origin, make them coincident. Now you notice it's still underdefined because now it is free to do that. We'll just go ahead and add a dimension from here to here, and I'll make the angle of that dimension equal to 30 divided by 2. I'm doing that instead of putting 15 in case I change to 30. So now we've got a fully defined sketch. We can go over to features, do an extruded cut. You know how I feel about doing a cut up to surface, so that's what I'm going to do here. Come back out. There's our feature. Now we'll take a look at it from the front again. Now before we do the array, which is what we're going to do next, what I'd like to do is put those fillets in, because if you take a look, all of those pockets, all of those openings have fillets. So we'll tip this up, go to fillet, grab that edge right there, and the fillets have a radius of 10. Put a 10 in on this side. Oop, I don't want that face, I want that edge. Do the same thing here, not that face, that edge, and then get this edge. Now I've got that opening exactly the way I want it. So now I'm going to do is go over to linear path, drop down and pick circular. It asks for direction. I'm just going to pick the face of that cylinder. What was already highlighted was the last fillet that I put in, but I also want to add the cut itself. Come back up here. Did I get lucky on that? How many of them are there? 8. I did get lucky on that. Did I? Nope, there's 10. There it is. That's 8. Nice to know that I can count to 8. Then we'll go ahead and do we've got a couple other fillets to put in here, so we'll go ahead and add those fillets. So I have a fillet right on that edge all the way around. Another one right on that edge all the way around. Turn around and do this. Come up here and do that. Okay, almost done. Now we'll go ahead and look at this right from the front. Looks like this. I need to put that keyway in. Go over to the drawing. The depth of the keyway is 85.4 and the width of the keyway is 22. It's given right there. So we'll do a sketch on the face of the hub. Once again, I'm starting with a center line. Bring it right up through here like that. Let's start by offsetting that 11. Pick the line, 2 different directions. That looks good. Now we need to put a line that goes, have a line that goes across here, it goes to here. Come in and do some trimming. We'll get rid of that and get rid of this. I'm going to do a convert entities on that edge right there. Now we'll do some more trimming. Get rid of the rest of this and get rid of that. So now I've got that shape. All I need to do now is put the dimension giving the depth from here. Hold the shift key down and pick that. 85.4. And we need to figure out why it's not yet fully defined. Probably I trimmed something out that I needed. Yeah. That's no longer lined up because I trimmed that out too. I went a little too far on that. That's alright. I'm going to pick the origin, hold the control key down, pick that line, make them coincident. Now it's fully defined. We can go up here and do an extruded cut. And I'm going to go up to surface. And that surface I'm going to go to is right there. It looks like that. So you can check to see if you got the same mass I did. I'll go here and assign a material. Let's just make it plain carbon steel. Go into mass properties. When you go into mass properties, what I got for mass was 16,964.35 grams.